One, and we're going live for a new episode of the Electrek Podcast. I am Fred Lambert, your host, and as usual, I'm joined by Seth Wintraum. You ready for a big podcast this week, Seth?
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's jump into it. The podcast headline this week is Tesla layoffs, a big price hike, and more weirdness. And the weirdness is, as usual, courtesy of Elon Musk. and there was quite a few controversies this week, but like what everyone is talking about right now is kind of an interesting one. We haven't really reported on it because it's not exactly our beat, but it kind of wraps up into it now because so these employees at SpaceX ended up sending this open letter, they called it, that basically outlined how they believe that SpaceX is not really upholding their no hassle theory, no hassle practice or policy that they have in place. That's how they call it. Excuse my language. Uh, it's literally the name of the policy uh, regarding Elon Musk's behavior lately, especially within Twitter. And they're referring to things like there's little like insult matches that he has with other billionaires like Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates that are not really appropriate for someone that is basically the de facto SpaceX and Tesla spokesperson right now. And and the most surprising thing of it all, so these employees basically the letter, like you can go read it. It's been made public, and the name open letter. It's very tame, really. They don't go into many details. They just are like this is behavior that is distracting for us. It's not representative of the company, we think. And all they were asking is like SpaceX to make a comment to differentiate, like to make it clear that what Elon is doing is not like representative of the company. Um, Sounds kind of fair, especially with the context of Elon just now saying that his comments are not representative of the company that is thought of consciousness, like it's just that he's putting on Twitter. But then SpaceX went around and fired those those three employees that were related to that open letter.
And we
So
should we should mention that all this stuff is on our sister site, spaceexplorer.com.
yes, exactly. Um, and especially coming from from Elon that just claims to be a free speech absolvist. And of course, free speech doesn't mean being free of any kind of penalty to your speech, but firing the employees for simply voicing their disapproval of his behavior, which a lot of other people do, by the way. Other than the hardcore Elon fans and Tesla fans out there, there's not a lot of people that are like, yeah, this is like normal behavior for anyone, and especially not for like CEO of major companies that do extremely important work. um, this, and I mean, you know me, said like, I've been critical of Elon for a while when he goes a little bit wild, and of Tesla when they do some things that I don't agree with. But I've still been like in the corner. Like I'm still a Tesla investor. I'm still a big fan of the company. I haven't sold my car like some people have done.
Yeah.
Big fan of like this is a great car. I'm not gonna sell that. But um, I'm to the point now that I'm like starting to get actually worried. Like before that, I was like, he's I cannot even imagine myself being in the situation that Elon Musk is, like with all the attention that he gets, with just the like, the amount of work, the stress that comes with it, and all that. I cannot even imagine that. So I thought, like, all right, sometimes like it gets to him, and he says things that he shouldn't say, and whatnot. But now I'm starting, like, this is for the last like few months to a year now. It feels like I don't know about you, but like, for me, like it feels like a dangerous ramp up in behavior.
Yeah, I don't know if it's stress related or if it's as you've talked about quite a bit, the pollution of his feedback loop. It feels like there's nobody in his inner circle who's kind of like the voice. He's obviously spending tons of time on Twitter, doom scrolling or whatever. But like, I'll look at my Twitter feed and I'll see the people replying to Elon and they're all like negative. But if I go into Twitter and because somebody blocks me or whatever, and I
Your
do it
spare
from,
account, you mean? Okay.
yes, incognito mode,
Yeah.
um, I'll see a totally different stream of consciousness, and then
Yeah.
I see a whole bunch of people who are like super Elon bots. So I imagine he's probably seeing nothing but bots and nothing but the
Mm-hmm.
super fans egging him on. So he's got that Twitter feedback loop that's total like toxic. And then he's got the real life people around him who like any dissent. This Space Explored is a good example.
The
Sorry,
SpaceX, basically.
SpaceX thing. um it's it seemed like a reasonable letter. I mean, obviously, like it was not
It was
too,
bold. It was bold to do that
it was
regarding
bold,
your boss.
and it's clear that there were names attached to it,
Mm-hmm.
so it wasn't crazy,
Mm-hmm.
but it seemed reasonable, like, hey, reel it in, Elon. You're not, it's not healthy for the organization. um there's a lot of people inside who are just like, this isn't what I signed up for, and that is like legitimate feedback.
Mm-hmm.
This is, and then it comes to the free speech thing, and Elon saying he's a free speech absolutist. This is a clear example of that not being the case. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and we've, personally seen where, we say, hey, you told everybody that full self-driving hardware 2.5 was all they would need for full self-driving, and now you're telling them that they need to pay for it, and then we get blocked, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. We're no longer in the friend group. So I don't know. It just seems like there's like a real problem right now because he's surrounded by yes man and women in Gwen
And
Shotwell
bot.
and bots, and
Yes,
you know
bots.
he doesn't seem to want to get out of it, and he doesn't want to seem to listen to other people. I also found it weird. I was listening to the hour long interview again with
Mm.
the Tesla Club. Um, and he was talking about how the unions, which, like, I get it, the unions were not nice to Elon or Tesla because
Mm.
that that's, they're like the enemy. I get it, but like, and the Democrats are obviously in, I wouldn't say in bed with the unions, but they're obviously trying to appease them. But like, it doesn't seem like the Democrats are the unions. Like, if you're fighting the unions, that makes sense, sort of, from a from a business standpoint. At Tesla, you're like, all right, I don't want unions. We're not gonna do that. But to say like, okay, the Democrats are trying to kill
Mm.
me because you didn't get invited to an event, which clearly I think they should have been, like, Tesla should have been invited to those events.
Mm.
That seems obvious, but like, that doesn't mean it's nuclear wartime. It means
No,
like,
it sounds like he has a short memory because, like, I remember the days of like Mitt Romney saying that Tesla was one of the losers that
yeah, like
Obama was investing
Solandra,
in, and
Solandra.
yeah, along with Sandra, with Tesla ended up like buying their headquarters and shit. Like, there's been the, like, if we go to the history of time of Tesla, it's clear that the Republican Party has been more harmful to Tesla as a business than the Democrats. Not that the Democrats are doing great right now. I'm not defending them. Um, but yeah, I mean, if you want to link the Democrats to the unions, like, he's not a moron. Like, he knows that the reason that the Democrats are pandering to the unions is they want their vote. Like, it's as simple as that. Like, he
Right.
knows how politics work. Like, you cannot take this nonsense personal. But yeah, I mean, to your point about like the feedback loop and him spending time on Twitter and just seeing like all this, like, this is working. Like, uh, I've seen this trend lately of the way he use Twitter, where he keeps like responding to people that are simply quoting him, like quoting something he says that, like, this is cool, like, he's cool, and then he responds to that like exactly, or yeah, or like this person gets it, but like, this is you said that, like, he's quoting you verbatim, like this is weird, like, this is getting, I mean, I'm no psychologist or therapist or psychiatrist, like, I'm not gonna diagnose anyone with any kind of mental, not the mental condition in time of like, but more like personality traits, or things like that. but I'm starting to see signs of things like not going right. And uh and so just now what just happened, like with the firing those employees, and like a lot of people obviously are bringing up the point of like, hey, this is not really pro free speech, like they just voiced their opinion on your behavior lately and you fired them. And so to justify that, like one of his super fans again like brings up like, oh, Elon is not really a spokesperson for SpaceX, so his Twitter and the weird things he says on there are not representative of those companies, which could be a fair point if he wasn't using those platforms. Like he didn't make himself, he didn't make those platforms into the main official common platform from SpaceX and Tesla. I mean, in the case of Tesla, he literally disbanded the PR department. So if you want actual um, official statement for Tesla from the CEO of Tesla, you have to go through his Twitter, literally, and then you go to his Twitter, and he bans people that give him negative feedback, like me. He And you have to get to the actual statement that you want, you have to go through a ton of like questionable memes and divisive political comments and literal like insult battle between him and Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates and all that nonsense. That like my main point is that, let's say that any other Tesla or SpaceX employee would have a Twitter account that gets somehow like a little popularity, and they were acting just like Elon is, they would get a call, an email from HR real quick and be like, hey, this is like, you're known as an employee of Tesla and you are like not behaving publicly in a way that aligns with our code of conduct, and you shouldn't do that. Like for sure that would happen. Now, no one as HR is reaching out to Elon about that. There's just no way. So there is this kind of hypocrisy, I think, that I'm starting to really not like. And now with all this, like I said, I'm starting to see that, oh, this is getting to a level that is like when I say dangerous, I mean where I think Tesla gets negatively affected by it. And we're seeing that in some of the news this week that came out. So let's get to the actual news item here. So the layoffs. So the layoffs first started earlier this month. If you remember, like just a quick reminder, it started with an email that leaked from Elon to Tesla executives, where he said that he was worried about he had a super bad feeling about the economy, and he said that there's going to be a hiring freeze, and you have to lay off 10% of your staff. He said that, and then the later that day or the next day, he ended up sending an email to all employees to clarify that when he meant 10%, the workforce, it was just talking about salaried employees, and that hourly employees were headcount would actually increase. Okay, sounds fair. You want to clean up a little bit in the managerial roles, but you still want to keep like, this is June, like this is the end of the quarter, like you need people to sell cars, deliver cars, service cars, build cars, all that, and all of those are made by the grunts, all the employees, the people doing the dirty work. Like, okay, like those people are safe, they don't have to worry about their job being cut at this point. But what we learned today from reliable inside sources is that a bunch of hourly employees are being laid off right now. Yesterday, actually, there was a second wave of layoff, and it included hourly employees. And I'm hearing that's what the wild thing. I'm hearing employees from sales and deliveries at the end of a quarter where Elon asked them to go all out, go nutty, and all that stuff because they need to go strong for. It's going to be a tough end of the quarter. People were let go in those departments, even in service, which Elon has been hammering lately that the Tesla needs to improve service. They have let go of actual tech, like technician working on cars. And now you want the little cherry on top. We also reported yesterday from very good inside sources that Tesla is sending untrained employees from sales, from deliveries that are not trained to work on car and service cars. They're taking them out of their sales position. Like it can be like in you can be working in a mall, literally, like as one of the sales advisor in a mall, and Tesla uh, takes them and bring them in service centers to work on cars. Again, to be fair, they're not. It's not like they are repairing a battery pack or anything like that. Like they are mainly like changing tires, changing wheels. But even that requires some training normally. Like it's like it's a safety issue to have like a tire not bolted right. Like and other like small service operation. But his idea is like all hands on deck. Like we want every like able-bodied to work on cars, and then he fires actual technician, and then uh, other salespeople too. So what I'm saying is that it wasn't true when it was said that the layoffs were just for salaried employees. He's actually firing hourly wages employees, and uh, this service thing doesn't look good. And it's worse than I thought. Like when he said like they were working on service, I thought okay, like yeah, you could always use a lot of improvements, but apparently it's that bad that they are doing that. Like it's worse than I thought. I see a lot of people asking um, if we read Shotwell's explanation letter. Like I read it and I wasn't impressed by it at all. So
Yeah.
Glenn Shotwell is the no, not Glenn. What's her first name?
Gwen Shotwell,
Gwen Shotwell. She's the president of SpaceX, so she's the number two at SpaceX
COO. Something.
after Musk. And basically, what she said it was that the letter was like the people behind the letter were saying like what was sending unsolicited emails to those employees, and that was upsetting people that they would get those like that wasn't a good excuse for firing them in my opinion, because like if you don't agree with what they said in the letter, like don't sign the letter. That's all they were requesting. Like this is our open letter, this is a weird group of people at SpaceX who believe in what is in that letter. If you want to sign it, but I don't think they were forcing anyone to sign it.
Yeah, and to say they were being bullied, that seems
Yeah, like
really strange.
yeah, I not convincing answer at all. Like you fire like it looks exactly you fire them because they talk bad about Elon, or they give negative feedback from Elon. Um, so yeah, it's not ideal, not an ideal situation at all. All right, then the other big news this week was this price increase across Tesla's entire lineup, and it's a big one. It's $3,500 to $6,000 per car. Um, so the Model S, the Model 3 long range. So the Model 3, the standard word stayed the same at 47,000, but the long range version went up to 58,000, and it's the performance version stayed the same. Both Model Y went up. Model long range went up from 62,009 about 63,000 to 66,000, so $3,000 increase. Model Y performance went from 68,000 to $70,000, a $2,000 increase. We don't Tesla has yet to put the Model Y built in Texas on there. That's like the standard range with 279 miles of range. But from what I've seen so far, like a bunch of people, Tesla seems to have sent another wave of emails to people that have Model Ys right now, and that offering them to upgrade. Well, I don't know if upgrade is the right word, because sometimes it's a downgrade, especially in terms of range and things like that. But to get the Texas built faster than their current order, but and it looks like it's still $60,000 for now. So the price hasn't changed there.
It's weird. Well, it's not weird that things are going up. Obviously, we've heard recently that the Mach-E is breaking even. We'll talk about that later, I think. There's we'd heard today that the Hummer EV is going up $6,000. It's not surprising, but
Mhm.
there's been a long line of price increases here. So this is yet another big one.
Yeah, it's the accumulative effect of all the price increases at Tesla that are, now those vehicles are like quite expensive. The Model S got a $5,000 price increase from 100,000 to 105 for the base version. The Plaid is still the same. The Model X went from 115 to 121,000, a $6,000 increase. Again, the Model X Plaid stayed the same at $139,000. So these are massive increase. Again, they are increased for new orders, and those new orders are getting delivered like 6 to 12 months from now. So it's not like affecting any deliveries right now. But what if we are to repeat Tesla's own explanation for that based on what they said on the previous price increase, especially the big one in March, because there was a big one in March, not a big one in June. It's that Tesla is anticipating cost increases, so they by the time they have to produce those cars, again 6 to 12 months from now, and they are baking that in right now because people are placing their orders right now. So that's a reasonable explanation. However, Tesla, like all the price increases over the last year that happened, during that time, Tesla's gross margin have increased also like significantly. So it would lead that Tesla is not being very good at predicting those costs because the money is going into the company's pocket. Well, again, I'm not saying I'm against that. Like if it accelerate the transition to electric vehicle and they use that money to accelerate the production because the demand is there, apparently even at those price level, maybe not at those ones, but the ones before that. Uh,
You know what was weird is last week, we heard that Elon warned Rivian that
mhm.
having too expensive of a car
Yeah,
is, you're going to price yourself out of the market,
yeah, that's true.
and here we are.
Yeah, I mean we
He's,
can talk about that too. I think it was in there, but yeah, that's a good point. Like he said, every time you increase the price exponentially, fewer people can afford the car. So he's right here, especially for the Model Y is by far Tesla's most popular vehicle right now, and it starts at $66,000 right now. Well, again, without the Texas built one, but still that's still $60,000. So this is the cheapest Tesla Model Y you can buy right now.
yeah,
Technically,
that's pretty expensive.
yeah, you still have the Model 3.
I mean, didn't the Model Y start at like 40 something thousand? I mean,
Yeah, 40, 45, I think it started, no?
so it's up $20,000 from the
Yeah,
beginning.
yeah, $21,000 over like what it started in 2019. Like
So that's a 50% increase in price. I don't think we've hit 50% inflation yet.
no, no. Yeah, it's I
You
got
know, if you can get the money, I mean, if you can get it, why not?
yeah, and to be fair, like you said, other vehicles are also increasing in prices. Like well, the Hummer was already pretty expensive.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody's like, oh, that much more expensive for a Hummer.
Hmm.
I mean, Hummers are selling for double the sticker price right now,
Yeah, on the
which
resale
which
market. Yeah.
makes this Bolt thing, like we talked about it before, but the Chevy Bolt losing $6,000 makes no sense at all
Yeah.
because like
Yeah.
it seems like a mistake. Like Mari Barra sent out like make the Bolt $6,000 more expensive, and
Someone screwed up.
she put like a negative sign or something, and somebody put it in there, and they're like, oh, it's crap, whatever.
Yeah,
It's not that much money. There's only
can get a Bolt for 25,000. Like to be honest, at this point though, like even though I love my Model 3, but if I was to on the market for a new car right now, I'd get a Bolt for $25,000 before I get a Model Y for $60,000.
for sure. I'm getting my mom one.
Yeah.
Hopefully she's not listening to this, but and I was actually thinking about getting myself one just because
Yeah.
for twenty
Just so
five thousand
cheap.
dollars, that's a huge battery.
Yeah.
I could use
Yeah.
that as a Powerwall. I mean, 66
Hey,
kilowatts. That's 4 Powerwalls.
I installed my power walls.
Uh-huh.
Like yeah, I got my power walls installed. I got two installed. That's the 28 kilowatt hour of battery capacity. I got one of them for free from Tesla. Well, for free for my participation in the referral program.
Right.
No, is that
You didn't get
yeah,
more than
yeah.
one? I thought you would get like 2 or 4 or something.
No, I got not one. Uh, yeah, to my yeah, for selling solar for referral for solars that I got it,
Mhm.
but I had to pay for the other one. It cost me $24,000 Canadian.
Really? For
Yeah,
one
I had to
Powerwall
one power wall
and install.
and the installation for the
Yeah,
two power walls. You have to pay for the installation of the one that you get for free.
right.
So yeah, I mean, if you can find a way to like hook up like unbolt the battery pack and use it as a storage on the bolt, the $25,000 bolt, like yeah, it's cheap. All right, on the better news front from Tesla, like this is from our reporting on the company-wide meeting that apparently we are the only one that has the recording on that, so we've been leading the reporting on this.
We
Uh,
should put that in our Patreon.
oh yeah, that could be cool. Um, yeah, we need to cut it together. We could do
Yeah.
something about that. Tesla is so it was a comment that I thought like as I was re-listening to because I was trying to find what is newsworthy in there, and as I was re-listening to it, I'm like, oh, this is actually something that like I didn't catch the first time, but it is newsworthy. Is because this employee asked Elon during the call. This is the meaning. where is going to be Tesla's next factory in the US. So we know that Tesla is planning to announce a new gigafactory, or maybe new gigafactories locations by the end of the year. So this employee asked the next one in the US where it's going to be. And then Elon, responding to that comment, he felt the need to say that actually we're more looking in North America, and so that includes Canada and Mexico along with US. And said, and he specifically said that Tesla is considering sites in those markets. So the fact that he felt the need to specify that they check not just looking in the US but in North America as a whole, and that the next factory in North America might not necessarily be in the US but in Canada and Mexico, that's newsworthy, I think, especially in the context that, if you remember last year, we reported on Quebec. Quebec's Minister of Economy meeting with Tesla executive in California, and Quebec, the state of the province of Quebec has unlocked billions of dollars on an incentive to bring manufacturing related to batteries and electric vehicles to the province, and already some of that has already been distributed, like through the supply chain, especially through for cathode production and battery lithium refining and graphite processing and all that stuff. But they're looking for what they call an anchor project, which would be either a full electric vehicle manufacturing or battery cell manufacturing. And Tesla is obviously a target for that, since the new model of Tesla Gigafactory appears to be from cell to car. So that's I thought that was interesting, and obviously take all that. I'm biased here. That well, everything I just said is facts, but I'm biased in the fact that I would like Tesla to come to Quebec because I live there.
So you think they would go to in Canada? They would go to Quebec, or
Well, I'm just it's not it's not sure that it would be the case. In terms of like workforce, I think it would make sense that would be either Quebec, Ontario, or BC. Though
Mhm.
probably more Ontario or Quebec. They're probably looking more for East Coast. It would make sense. They have
Yeah.
already like a factory on the East Coast, on the West Coast. Factory is central. A factory on the West Coast would make sense. So somewhere between Quebec and Ontario would make sense. But Quebec has all the resources for. But Ontario has a ton of natural resources related to batteries too. They still have nickel and cobalt production in Ontario.
Cheap
But
electricity in Quebec.
cheap electricity, super cheap electricity in Quebec too. So that's also a benefit. But Quebec has also been specifically like courting Tesla. We know that too. So that's
Mhm.
the encouraging point. All right, this also made a lot of news this week. It was personally, I didn't think that it was that big of a news, because I think the report lacked context a lot. But NHTSA released their first safety performance of advanced vehicle technologies report, and the report was basically just the amount of crashes on level 2 uh, ADAS system, sorry, advanced driver assistance system, and level 3 to 5 self-driving system. So they bundle up level 3 to 5 and then level 2 on its own. And unsurprisingly, Tesla Autopilot led level 2 crashes with 273 crashes, with the next biggest one being Honda. Kind of surprising, Honda being on that list. But here's the thing: and to be fair, they did mention that in the report, though. I think the report really didn't deserve much of a like press if without that information. Is that they didn't normalize the data
Right.
for the number of cars on the road that have that level 2 ADS technology, or even better, the miles driven on that ADAS technology. So they just purely released the crashes number, which, as you look at this this graphic, if you just look at the graphic, you're like, oh, well, Tesla is awful. But it's my strong suspicion that Tesla has a lot more vehicles with level 2 system in there, and a ton more mileage than any other of those automakers. Uh, Specifically for the fact that still 2019, since 2019, Tesla has been delivering all their vehicles with free autopilot in it. So, of course, that's going to happen. So it's in no way representative of the safety level. One more interesting part of that report, though, is that when you look at the level 3 to 5 crashes, Obviously, like Waymo is the leader there with 62, and then you have Cruise also have a bunch, but Tesla has one.
That
Uh,
means there's a level whatever Tesla running around.
Yeah, there's a 3 to 5, and Tesla has been specific in like we don't have self driving. Like there's nothing self driving. Everything is level 2. That's how they get around like the DMV California reporting. They say no, it's level 2. We're not even the FSD beta. It's that's not. We don't have to report that. That's level 2 system because the driver isn't responsible at all time. So my explanation, though I cannot confirm it, is that most likely that NHTSA is accounting for FSD beta as a level 3 or 5, a 3 to 5. And the crash that we learned about was earlier this year in February when there's actual that was caught on video. That was the first like reported crash on FSD beta. It was a small crash, to be fair. Like the car like smashed into like a pole that separates like the bicycle lane, I think, with the main road. And so I'm thinking that they likely count that as a crash for level 3 or 4 or 5 system. They don't specify which one. I thought that was interesting. They do release the crashes where they happen. So obviously, mostly in California, where most of those companies are testing those cars. After that, it's Arizona, which we know that Phoenix, Waymo is a big fleet in Phoenix, so a few crashes there. After that, there's not much.
Yep.
All right. All right, we have a few more news items to discuss, and then we're gonna jump into the comment section. So if you guys have question right now, please put them in the comment section right now. I'm gonna get to them in a few minutes. If you can put question in the all cap before your actual question, so it's easier for us to go through, that would be helpful. Also, if you do enjoy the show, please give us a thumbs up. That helps the algorithm, and we love the algorithm. and yeah, if you can give us a review too, that's always helpful on your podcast app. If you give us a 5-star review, that helps the show tremendously. It's free to do, and we appreciate it. All right, yeah, that you were referencing earlier, this part of that comment here that Elon made on this Silicon Valley Owners Club. Uh, it wasn't a podcast, or it wasn't like an interview, like a filmed interview, really. And Elon made some interesting comment about Lucid and Rivian that I thought was kind of well, miscontext again, a bit like the NHTSA report. Elon said that unless something changes significantly with Rivian and Lucid, they will both go bankrupt. They are tracking toward bankruptcy. I hope they can do something, but unless they can cut their costs dramatically, they are in deep trouble and will end up in the car cemetery like every other, with the exception of Tesla and Ford. He's referencing the fact that only Tesla and Ford are the only two American automakers that have not gone bankrupt. He said, my advice to Rivian would be to cut costs immediately across the board dramatically, or they are doomed. So technically, he is absolutely right. If you look at the financial, like they are losing a ton of money every quarter, and the
And
trend
negative
with
margins currently.
yeah, and even in the case of Rivian, at least, like, they are losing money on every car they sold, literally, which is bad. But it's what you expect in the company in that stage, like in the stage that Rivian and Lucid are. They are trying to ramp up production, and they are losing money on cars, but their hope is to start to like, achieve positive gross margin and start making some money, and then not rely on raising more capital in order to be sustainable and not go bankrupt. So my Tesla was in the exact same, not exact same, but very close to same situation, and you could argue an even worse situation to some degree, because they sorry, because they had less money in the bank, especially compared to Rivian. Rivian at the end of last quarter, they had $16 billion, over $16 billion in the bank. Tesla, I mean, until recent, Tesla never had that kind of money in the bank until recently, as a like $500 billion companies. I think that's around the time that they had that kind of money in the bank, and um, so that also Tesla, when they were in that growth phase, trying to ramp up production, well, they're still trying to ramp up, but when they were producing a lot fewer cars, there was no big market for electric vehicles at that point. Like Tesla literally created that market. Now there's extreme demand for electric vehicles that in Rivian and Lucid exist in that market. Granted, there's also more competition, but as far as we can tell right now, the competition is as there's plenty of space for it because the demand for EVs is so high. So yeah, this is complete. What's weird about it is that Elon, I remember specifically Elon like complaining about people making the exact same comments about Tesla, where he was like, "Yeah, people are they're naysayers, they're negative, they all doom and gloom about Tesla when they should be encouraging the company and things like that." Not that like he said that he hoped that they can turn around, but like his comments are very similar to comments that like he was critical of during that period. Um, Now, as a bit of a devil's advocate, where I would say that, especially in the case of Rivian, where there's a difference with Tesla, is like by that time that Tesla was producing the number of cars that Rivian is producing now, so a few thousand per quarter, they were already at a positive gross margin on the vehicle. Now they were still losing money as a company through the operational costs, but on revenue versus cost of goods, they were in the positive. So that's a big difference because when you start ramping up a lot, if you're still negative, and Rivian said that they expect to build about 25,000 cars this year and still have negative gross margin, this start to be a massive financial burden on them. Again, they have a ton of cash on hand, so they can withstand it at least for this year easily. But at some point, they might have to raise more capital if they cannot increase the pace of the improvement of their gross margin. And but again, to play the devil's advocate on the other side, Tesla also relied on raising more capital for a long period of time. Like this was the big criticism on the financial markets of Tesla is like if it doesn't raise more capital, it's gonna die. And obviously, Tesla was very good at raising more capital. And now Rivian and Lucid on a more difficult situation. We're entering a recession right now, and it could be more difficult to raise capital. But at the same time, Rivian is backed by Amazon and Ford, and Lucid is backed by the Saudis. So
Right.
plenty of money where that came from.
Unlimited.
Unlimited, literally. So I'm not too worried about bankruptcy on either side, and I wish Elon would have framed those comments in that context, and also like acknowledge the fact that yeah, people were saying very similar thing about us back in the day, and I wasn't happy about that.
It
And
seems
this break
like it's bad faith, right? It seems like
a
he's
little bit.
purposely, I don't know.
Some people brought up that he's worried about them. He's worried about them. Like
Uh,
I don't know that's the case. I
I think
think
he
it
might be
was
worried
just
about them in a different way, though.
Well, yeah, I don't know, but what I didn't like, and I mean, I'm not blaming the guys that did the podcast at the Silicon Valley. Like they're just like they're fans and they were just wanting to listen to Elon talk and everything. But this is another example, though, of Elon just interacting now just with people that are super fans and that are not going to push back on anything. Like I wish that this interview was done with someone with more of a like like not too much of like a mindset, and that they could push back on ideas like that, because you would get because I would have liked to hear Elon's response to yeah, but I hear you talk right now and it sounds a lot like the Tesla naysayers back in 2010 to 18 really. And I would have liked a lot of what he said about that, but obviously the whole podcast is them like softball question to Elon, and then Elon respond and them nodding like yes, absolutely, you're right, this is yes, yes, yes. And like it's
It's hard to watch
so
sometimes.
someone was like has more of a journalistic background, like it's it's a bit frustrating to watch that. And not that I'm not a fan of like I'm still a fan of like what Elon has accomplished and everything. Is just that he's not a god, like he's not perfect. Like something you have to push back on ideas, or otherwise we get the situation that we have right now, unfortunately. All right, moving on from Tesla, we have Neo came out with the ES7. So they've been teasing that car since as long as I can remember, and now they finally fully unveiled it. 578 miles of rocket. We I didn't know we used Chinese mileage on this. Like,
Well, it's a
yeah,
Chinese car.
yeah, Chinese car. You won't get 578
In
miles with.
China, you will.
Yeah, maybe. Vehicle to load capability. So this is a few new features that are introduced with that car, and this has kind of been described as a Model Y competitor, if you will, like in terms of the form factor at least. And where are this is a good looking car too. Like Neo has a very clean, very like Volvo, maybe Volvo like
Something
look.
like that.
Yeah. You have a sunroof. So high efficiency e-drive platform with SiC power module, 0 to 100 kilometers at 62 miles per hour in 3.9 seconds. So pretty good.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, they put the braking distance 100 to 0 kilometers an hour within 33.9 meters. Air suspension standard. Oh, well, that's new.
150 kilowatt hour battery is pretty big.
Yeah. Well. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, still 900 and almost 1,000 kilometers of range. I still have my doubt, even with 150. But it. However, it's still impressive that it can fit 150 kilowatt hour in that form factor. So it must be kind of a very energy dense battery pack if they can do that. But yeah, in terms of the 75 through like 300 men, well, that's a little bit more reasonable in terms of calculation. It is a 4,400 pound car. Yeah. All right. Some interior feature rear seat that are heated and power adjustable to decline. Oh, that's where I have power adjustable rear seats. 7.14 Dolby Atmos surround sound system. Waterfall ambient lighting. Lot of
So Neo is in Norway, and we anticipate they're coming to the U.S. One other thing about Neo that I think people are kind of interested in is the battery swap stations. Although I don't know if
mhm.
the ES7 is going to be included in that because that'd be a monster battery to replace.
Yeah, and I mean,
Why
I've
would you need
given
to replace a big battery like that?
yeah, I've given a lot of kudos and like for Neo to make battery swapping work in China. I just don't know if it's gonna work in other markets though. And I know they're bringing it to Norway, like they had their first few station battery swap station in Norway. I don't know if they're gonna bring it in the US though. I know they're planning to bring their cars to the US. I don't know if they're gonna bring the battery swapping. So it starts at 69,700 for the 75 kilowatt hour version. Yeah, $78,000 for the less than $10,000 more for. Oh no, okay, no, there's 100 kilowatt hour back. Oh, okay, and we're gonna have to check with Scooter on this one because he quotes 100 kilowatt hour pack there and 150 on the other one.
I mean, it's got to be 150 if it gets
Yeah,
570 miles of range.
yeah, because if you go with just 25 kilowatt hour more to get
Although
like
the pricing
200,
looks more like 100 kilowatt hour.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Weird.
Yeah, we're gonna have to come back to you with that because this is a bit confusing. There's a premier version, so the first one being delivered, I think it's a little bit more expensive, but sometimes it just have like a different like badging and things like that. It doesn't have much more new features. All right, bad news for Ford. The Mustang Mach-E, it's been as a delivery stop on it that Ford communicated to the dealership this week. So there's going to be a safety recall coming up because of a faulty battery connector that can cause the car to power down when driving. So obviously this is a safety issue. It affects a certain number of 2021 and 2022 Mustang Mach-E's. So you think about 30,000 something units are affected right now, but it's some of them. So, but the stops not stop sell, it's a stop delivery. So Ford dealership cannot deliver those cars right now. Um, the, for all of them, the safety recall also likely is going to extend to all of them, but it might not be all those vehicles are affected. It sounds like it's safe to drive right now because the car will you still gonna have time like to pull over and you can uh, the brakes are gonna work, the electronics inside the car is gonna work, but it's still a worrisome issue. And Ford said that they don't have a fix right now for it. So that's why they are stopping deliveries right now. And they said that they're going to have a fix in Q3. So it looks like a significant issue because that's at least another 2 weeks of not delivering any Mackeys. And of course, Q3 is any time between July and in September. So bad news for Ford.
Yeah, but they're not really selling any Mach-E's now. They ran out of their supply months ago,
Yeah, that
so
too.
it's not a huge loss. And it
Mhm.
doesn't sound like the fixes. Did I hear the fixes OTA?
They mentioned both software and possibly hardware, so it could. It's I don't know if it's both of them or either or. Like,
Hmm.
it's not clear from the dealer communication. And Ford actually didn't like they just the dealer communication was
Yeah,
all they gave
usually
me.
our PR people at Ford are
Yeah,
like all over that stuff, so it's weird.
yeah, but they just told me it's not a stop sale, just not a stop delivery. That's it. Okay. The Blazer EV, the Chevy Blazer EV, we got a new picture of it and a reveal date of, well, yeah, they pretty much revealed it, but I guess we're going to get all the details and the specs and all that on July 18. But for now, we get this new picture right here, which looks pretty sleek.
I like it.
Uh, yeah.
I mean,
Like it a lot more than the whole Blazer for sure.
yeah. I mean, for a Chevy, it's pretty cool. That thing, that gap behind the front wheel, not sure about it yet. We're going to need to see more angles on that. And I know that charge port is there. But I like the form factor. I think it looks good. Um,
I like the
yeah,
front end too. Like it's not a fake grill. It's just like
right.
something in between. It's not like a nose cone or anything like that. It's
Yeah. Size wise, it kind of reminds me of the Kia EV6. Um, like almost like a high station wagon-y look. We had seen previously the charge port and a teaser that they sent out.
well,
Um,
as I'm looking at the charge port right now, so it opens up like this, like that.
I guess. Yeah.
Well, that's not good because the cable is going to put pressure on it because the cable, like when you plug it in, the cable like pulls down like that.
Yeah. I don't
Also,
know if it
if you're
comes
in the
sideways at all.
snow,
Yeah, I know.
yeah, it's hard because it's darkened. But yeah, I
It's
don't.
frustrating because the Chevy Bolt had the best charging port of any. I mean, obviously the Teslas are
Mm,
pretty good, although not the best. I think the Chevy Bolt is basically like a
mm,
gas cap. You
mm,
just pull it open and you put the plug in,
mhm,
and that's it. I just all this weird stuff. The Rivian coming. I'm getting a Rivian R1S at some point,
mm.
and the charge port there is like this motor that goes, and Porsche has that crazy
Yeah.
one. You have to like
Yeah,
swipe your
Tesla
finger.
is not bad, but they have had issues in extreme cold before where it doesn't open right.
Yeah, my Model 3
Mm,
door
mm.
isn't working properly right now.
Really?
But
Mm.
I think it's a pretty easy fix. And it probably has to do with the snow, like freezing it. And then I'm trying to crack open the ice with my hand. And then I probably pulled it out. So it's most likely my fault. But
Well,
yeah,
I had some similar issue at one point, but they did a software update at some point and that fixed it. I don't know how
really.
they fixed it with a software update, man.
Software.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, that's cool.
All right. This study is kind of worrisome. It's worse than I thought. So a study looked into the number of functional charging station, fast charging station, so DC charging station in the Bay Area. So it's the study from researcher at Berkeley University, and they looked into 678 chargers at 181 stations in the Bay Area, and they found that only 72% of them, 72.5% of them were functional at the time of testing. So it means that one in four station, not station charger, were non-functional. This is obviously very bad. Like I
Yeah.
like there's nothing more frustrating than coming to a charging station and it's not working. There's something wrong with it. It's terrible. Uh, I knew it was a problem, but like this bad, especially in the Bay Area, you would think that people would take care of them a little bit better because it's a huge market for electric vehicles. But apparently not. Tesla is not included in the study because they wanted to do public charging station, and the superchargers in the Bay Area only work with Tesla vehicles, so they don't consider it public. But they did cite a survey that I wasn't aware about before, where they said that only 4% of Tesla owners reported a major difficulty with Tesla. We call it Tesla closed DCFC system, so basically the supercharger network. So this sounds like it's a lot better. The most of the station that were tested were EVgo and Electrify America,
Hmm.
which both have kind of a reputation around that. Something that they have to improve. Obviously,
So this
they
did not include Tesla stations?
no, well, not the 72%
Hmm.
number. Um, they said that for the most part they were unresponsive or unavailable screens. So either the screen wouldn't work, so you couldn't like activate it. The payment system failed. Charge initiation failure, network failure, or broken connectors. So you basically got everything you can get out of the out of those 657 stations. They found every mistake you can get. I mean, I'm not too surprised because on my last road trip with the Mach-E, where on Electrify America's network, I had some issues. I visited four different charging station, and two of them, the first charger I went to didn't work. Now, others charger at the same station did work, but not the first one. And the first one just the charging would initiate and like shut down immediately, and the other one is just the credit card. It wouldn't take my credit card for some reason. Like the payment system didn't work.
Yeah, it's been my experience as well. Whenever I'm testing a vehicle and I go to a station, there's like like this. There's a 1 in 4 chance that that station's not going to work.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Yeah, gonna have to pray on your way there that it's gonna work. As if your charge is still down and you cannot get to another one. All right, let's get into the comments. We have quite a few today.
All right. Let me mark the time, 50:52. And then, all right, Joshua Knight has the first all caps question. Any news on Tesla's plan from a few years ago to do away with wiring harnesses? If I remember, they were trying to print conductors onto the body in white.
Well, that's a very good question. I don't actually remember them specifically like mentioning that solution and doing away completely with wiring harnesses. I know that they were reducing the number of the number of connectors, or wiring harness, and of total mileage of wires within the cars. We know that the plan originally was that for the Model Y, then they did made some improvement to that with the Model Y, but that was sort of delayed with because they didn't want to redo the completely redo the architectures from the Model 3. Apparently, there are some improvements from the Model Y with the structural battery pack, but again, doing away completely with wiring harnesses, I don't think I'm familiar with that project.
Yeah, I feel like there was somebody, maybe Sandy Monroe or something, talked about that a little bit. If they had a higher voltage, it would be a thinner wire as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. The Jose, these price hikes, I agree. Can we go back to the Bolt a little bit? I still can't get my mind around how inexpensive that thing is.
Yeah.
Like, I want to buy all the Bolts from Chevy that they produce and sell them for $40,000 each. I feel like I could do that. Just have a sale on
Maybe
electric.
the whole battery fire thing was like a bigger hit than we thought on the demand for it. Like
Maybe. I don't know.
it was a bad situation, and the GM didn't handle it right at all.
Yeah,
But
GM dropped the ball continuously, and they have since the beginning on the Bolt. The Bolt is a phenomenally engineered, great, super useful car, and
that had the bad battery cells at some
well,
point.
it did have a
Yeah.
battery problem, but
Yeah.
they eventually addressed it, and
Yeah.
the cars that are coming out now are fine.
Have brand new batteries in them.
Yeah. All right. Question: how similar is the Mach-E battery issue to the old Model S pack issue? It seems like performance will be reduced. I think I might have lost you. All right. Well, I'll wait for Fred to come back on, but I'll try to answer this. I think it's similar to the. I feel like there was a an issue with the Model S where they would overheat. It's not really a battery issue per se. It's kind of like the connection issue. So, but I think it's pretty fixable. They might not allow you to do. One cool thing about the Mach-E is that they allow you to do 0 to 60 runs over and over and over again. Well, that it might not be the case anymore that you can keep doing that. All right, Fred is still drinking that thing, so we'll go back, continue. Twitter in court. All right, we got some interesting stuff here. The best employee letter is no employee letter. That's true, but if your CEO is behaving himself, that you don't get those. All right. Michael B says, Twitter, where's the money, Muskowski? We want the money, Muskowski. Tesla says you're good for it. All right. Dan Oberst, question. There seem to be very few white Model Ys in the staging area at Giga, Texas. Do you think there's any chance that the employees get discounted or free paint upgrade? That's a good question. I'm not sure. It. I wonder if it has to do with Texas being super hot and the weather being super hot and people not wanting super hot vehicles. Hey, Fred's back.
Yeah, sorry
Uh,
about that. Lost
we're
power,
oh,
lost power, and that's the internet here. But I'm on my cell phone right now.
nice. All right, so we're talking about why there are so few white Model Ys in the staging area at Giga, Texas. Do you have any idea about that?
Well, I mean, they are very early in the production process, so they focus on they focus on lowering the complexities. That includes having fewer color scheme to have to paint in the paint shop. Simple as that.
Yeah. All right. Did you read Shotwell's explanation there? We addressed this
Yeah.
earlier. Talk crap about your boss and get fired.
I mean,
Okay.
have you read the original letter? Like talking crap is a kind of a reach,
It
really. Like,
seemed like they were trying to be constructive,
yes, they were very reasonable. It was like
right?
Elon's behavior right now is distracting and not productive, and
And this
and
is why people.
the
This is why his
harshest
feed.
the harshest word they use is embarrassing. It was embarrassing,
Right. And
and
this is
it
why
is.
his feedback loop is
Yeah,
corrupt because
yeah.
as soon as somebody says something like, "Hey, chill out, Elon, you're being embarrassing,"
Mm.
you're fired. You're gone from my existence. So I don't know. Like it doesn't. It seems like a downward spiral. We'll see. Uh, all right. Gakwa Ponzi says, Fred, I can teach anyone in 2 to 5 minutes to change a car tire. Okay, good. Teach my wife. No, just kidding. Not a big deal to learn in a few minutes.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as simple as that. I'm not saying about the tire. Like, they are putting untrained people to work on cars. Like, this is as simple as that. Like, it's not an ideal situation. They should have like tech. I mean, I know there's a labor shortage right now, and it's difficult, but they're really pulling people out of like sell job and deliveries in the middle of a delivery rush, and having like service car. It's not great. That's my point. Like, I don't think I'm reaching with that point.
No. All right, moving on. Ryan Wiebe, when do you think we'll finally know the Austin Model Y specs? And we know some of the specs, but
Yeah, I mean, I should spend more time on that. Sure, I could find out if I put a higher priority on that. Like, it's especially if it's in the hands of the consumer right now. It shouldn't be too difficult. I'll try to get that to you like relatively soon.
all right, Seth, if you buy a Chevy Bolt for your mom, will it catch fire in her garage? I hope it doesn't, and I don't think it will because they fixed it.
Mhm.
And has GM fixed or addressed that Bolt battery fire risk yet, though? Yes, they have.
Well, I think some people still don't have a battery replacement though. There's
Yeah,
still.
there's actually like thousands of
Mm,
bolts like in parking lots that haven't been
mm,
replaced. They had
yeah.
GM did a buyback, and
Hmm.
I'm kind of worried that they're not going to get replaced. They're just going to do a
Crush them. Yeah.
EV1 on them, which is like scary.
Uh,
Uh, anyway, question: any thoughts on VinFast? Information about their platform seems vague, other than that Magna is involved in developing an EV in a couple years. Sounds too good to be true. Well, I know that VinFast is a noodle company. They got famous and big from making noodles in Vietnam. And yes, they're using Magna as
but
their.
they've been making cars, not electric cars, for a while though.
I think so, but I don't know if
Yeah.
they're making them directly or if they're outsourcing those.
Well, they've been involved in cars for a
Right,
long time, so it's not like they're completely new to cars. They're new to electric
right,
cars.
right. And companies change all the time. I
Hmm.
think Nintendo or Nokia or Fish. And anyway,
Mm.
um, so we haven't driven anything VinFast has made. It does seem weird. We got invited to go to Vietnam. Scooter did, but we turned it down
Mm.
because scheduling stuff. But it would have been a cool thing to
Mm.
see the whole scenario over there. I don't know. What do you think, Fred?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're serious. There's serious money behind it. They want to do it, and they're coming here. They're coming Canada, coming to the U.S. So we'll give it a shot. I mean, I'm not too familiar with it yet, but it looks like a serious effort from what I can see right now.
All right, OKS Films question. Rivian's R1T is the first gen. Rivian's second gen will be called R2. I bet you they will call the Gen 3 C3PO. Love the podcast. All right, good one. The one Tesla autonomous driving that was reported by a customer. Sounds to me like a customer didn't realize FSD is level 2.
I think so. Yeah, the reported by a customer. There's plenty of both level 2 and level 3 that were, but especially level 2 that were all just said reported by customers. But I think NHTSA had to look into it. I think it might be like a NHTSA complaint, and that involved FSD beta. I don't think it was like Autopilot. I think NHTSA at least confirms that.
All right. Question: with the Shanghai COVID shutdown, what are your predictions for Q2 numbers, and how do you think the market will react?
Well, it sounds like most prediction on between 250 and 270,000 vehicles, and sounds about right to me. Um, yeah, I think on the higher end of that range, market reacts relatively well because I think it's already baked in that it was a hard quarter for Tesla in terms of productions. Uh, on the lower end of that range, I think the market goes bad. But at the same time, like this is more of a rough market these days, no matter what. So
Yeah. All right. Moving on. Dan Oberst asked the Monroe and Associates teardown of the Rivian shows a lot of manual welds, non-robot. Many weld on the top of the weld to correct poor welds. Manual welding is expensive, and rework welding even more. Not good money. That's actually true,
well,
but
that was also true of Tesla back in the day too.
exactly, and it's an easy fix. Well,
Yeah,
not easy fix, but it's a fix that
yeah,
can reduce the cost, which
yeah.
is the whole point. So that's a good example of probably the thing that you're not trying to tell us. All right. Rick Skinta says CarMax just gave me a quote of 22K for my Forte GT line. I should just trade it for a new Bolt. Yes, absolutely.
I don't know. I don't. It's a Kia Forte, right? I'm
I
trying
think
to see what the Forte is in my mind, but
I know the GT line is something that Kia
mm,
uses because they have the EV6 GT line.
I feel like it's like a small SUV, right? A small compact SUV. That Forte, I think it's
Whatever
called.
it
Right?
is, whatever.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
honestly,
yeah,
if you're
probably.
getting that much for a Kia,
Especially with the price of gas right now, like do it.
yeah.
Like, I just I bought gas for the first time in like 5 years today because I had to drive a truck to deliver something to my house,
Oh man.
and 223 a liter it was. I was like, gee, it cost me $30 for, I don't know, maybe 40 kilometers than I did with the truck.
I have to say it is really hard not being smug, like at dinner
Mm.
parties or whatever. People are talking about, oh man, the price of gas is
Yeah,
$6. And
yeah, I
I
can.
try to shut up and I try to just look
Mm,
down, like I'm not trying to say anything. And then somebody will,
yeah,
I'm the EV guy, so people are always
yeah.
like, oh, I bet you're laughing it up over there, aren't you?
Mm.
And I'm like, well, what am I going to
I
say? Of
was
course.
trying not to, but now that you pointed out.
Exactly. And I was like, "Oh, it's sunny today. That means my electricity is actually free.
Yeah.
So I'm paying 0.
Mm,
How's that feel?" All
mm.
right. Moving on. Fred and Seth appear not to understand what it takes to manufacture a large product at scale. Actually, that's true. I don't understand what it takes. Super hard. Okay. But you know who probably does is the people running Rivian and people running Lucid.
Mm.
So, and it does not matter if they have 100 billion in cash. Eventually, they will run out of cash. Yes, but they are going to
Yeah,
figure out.
and that's we're not saying it's gonna be easy to to improve. Like they could go bankrupt. They could fail in improving the gross margin and ramping up production. But the fact that they already are delivering cars and it's a great product, even though again, yeah, it's not manufactured efficiently right now. It's not. They're able to do it now. They just to do it. They need to do it better, smarter, higher, like here's the thing too, the higher volume is important at the same time, because I think Rivian was betting a lot on the economy of scale to help with their margins, but you have to time that in a way that you don't go bankrupt by the time, like you don't start producing 50,000 cars a year with a slim margin, because yes, that's going to be a problem. But no, I'm still optimistic about them.
All right, Mikey G from the Daily Podcast says
Quick charge.
he needs our take. The best ADAS going down to worst. All right, so this is a listicle.
I mean, that's gonna show how many I can name. Like definitely Autopilot at the top. There's no doubt about it in my mind. Though I don't know about you. Are you gonna say Super Cruise before Autopilot?
Well, so I think for all things, well, I would actually say Waymo probably, and then
Well,
Cruise ish maybe.
Waymo is not an ADAS. It's an
Right.
ADS. It's not the same.
Right.
So just ADAS. That would be like Super Cruise,
Yeah, Super
Autopilot,
Cruise.
Blue Cruise. Uh, what's the Hyundai one? I
The
forget the
thing
name.
is putting your hand on the wheel and holding it for hours at a time, or even like 20 minutes at a time, is way more uh, effort than just looking to the front of the car.
Mm.
So Ford's Blue Cruise on their F-150 has the camera looking at your eyes. Super Cruise has that, and I think they operate pretty much the same as Tesla on roads that are that they will accept on. And you can put Tesla Autopilot on my driveway, and it'll try.
Mhm.
So Tesla is going to be better on the roads that Super Cruise and Blue Cruise don't go, but on the pretty good roads, like Tesla doesn't use that camera that they
Mm.
have above the rear view mirror to check your eyes, and I don't think they will. I don't think it's for that.
Well, they
So
do in
until
my car.
oh, do they? Oh, because
FSD
you have
beta, they do.
FSD.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. So I don't know. I know Subaru doesn't have a good one on Catalina Island because somebody got lost. So maybe Mikey G remembers that. So I don't know. We'll make a list go up.
I've been using FSD beta lately, and I mean, again, FSD beta is, well, you can argue whether it's an ADAS or an ADS, but I feel, and it's not supposed to affect Autopilot. Like, it's two different stack that does the highway driving versus the city driving.
Right.
But I think it does affect it to some degree, because on the highway, I feel like I'm getting fewer like move the steering wheel alerts. I'm driving the exact
Oh,
same way. My hands are always on the steering wheel, but you have to apply torque and everything. I feel
right.
like I'm getting fewer of those since I have that. And what's the other thing too? Well, I mean, obviously the visualization is different, but no, I mean, I think Autopilot is very, very good. It's not perfect. Be careful out there when you use it, but it's extremely good.
All right. I got bad news for everybody. 89.
Oof.
Yeah. This is mostly my wife's driving, but
I knew that was coming.
well, she drives the Model Y. I drive the Model 3. It yeah, we're never gonna get FSD, unfortunately. It's sad to say.
You
Um,
just need to like have her like switch car and for a while,
for a
and
month.
do
Yeah.
and be careful with it. Like, just do it and just be super careful with it, because as soon as you get it, the safety score just goes away. So
Yeah. It also means I'll probably
mm,
never get Tesla insurance because it'll be
yeah,
super expensive.
yeah,
But in our defense, like we get collision warnings getting out of the
yeah.
driveway 50% of the time, and they happen all the time. So I think
All right, that's
maybe
the worst, by the way, about FSD beta is like when you actually use it, and there's something the FSD beta doesn't like. It does like the take control over, like beep beep beep, as if like there's a collision warning coming. Like, it's so stressful for no reason. Like, sometimes it's
yeah,
just you're out of an intersection and it just doesn't feel like doing it, the intersection, because it's too hard or
something.
whatever. And
Yeah,
then beep 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 beep, beep, like, hey, yeah, I was ready. Like, shut up. Like, like,
right.
just let me do it. It's
Yeah.
so stressful.
It'd be interesting taking like a heart rate monitor for somebody who's riding with
Well,
FSD
I
beta.
have my Apple Watch right
Right.
there.
We should do a test. Like, all
I
right,
should plot
drive
it.
from one side of
Yeah.
Montreal to the
Yeah.
other with FSD
Oh,
on.
I'm not even doing Montreal. Forget about it anymore. I'm not doing Montreal driving with that. Only suburbs and country roads with FSD beta. I was on the radio show yesterday, or the day before yesterday. I was on a radio show in Montreal talking about Tesla and everything, and the host know that I have FSD, and he asked me what I think on FSD on versus Montreal City Street. I'm like, I have to check in to try it again since I've tried it last time.
Yeah.
Too
All right, that's all
nightmares
for
to
the
have
questions.
nightmares about it. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks everyone for listening. Thanks everyone for watching the show. We appreciate it. And we're gonna see you in same thing, same place, same time next week. Have a good one.